Hey everyone, Katie Sergeant Steele here, and I'm back with another unit review, and today we are talking about the Hellhammer. So this is probably a lesser known variant of the Baneblade. The most popular variants in recent years have been the Stormlord, Shadow Sword, and the Baneblade itself. Although several other kind of sub-variants of the Shadow Sword have kind of popped up recently in the meta, which is really interesting, but I'll get to those later as I'm still painting the bits for them. Because you guys know when I do unit reviews, I only do fully painted models of my own models. So just something a little different, sets me apart from everybody else. So you will see my models while I do my unit reviews. So I'm working on the other ones. But this is one of those other kind of variants that does see some gameplay every once in a while. So let's dive in and let's talk about this amazing super heavy and titan of war. All right, so we have movement 9. So I don't know if you're aware, but all Titanic models in the Guard right now have 9-inch movement. That's a 10th edition thing. It has toughness 13, 2-up save, 24 wounds, leadership 7, 8 objective control. Just like most other Titanic units for the Astra Militarum. So that does make this a highly resilient and actually decent objective control unit overall in the Guard, right? This thing could control objectives with OC8. So don't forget that. This thing can actually run up and grab something and hold it against your opponent. Let's talk about its armament. So here we have the Demolisher Cannon on the front hull. We have a twin heavy bolter. You can also then add up to 4 sponsons. Now I built my kit back when you had to pay for each sponson, so I only have 2. They also didn't come with all 4 in the kit back then, so bear with me here. But you can have 4 of these sponsons, so you could have 4 las cannons and then 4 twin heavy bolters or 4 twin heavy flamers on those sponsons. Then we have the heavy stubber up here. We have the auto cannon, and then of course the Hellhammer cannon on here as well. That is a lot of shooting. That is a lot of war gear and a lot of shooting options in play. And this thing can really put out some damage. So let's talk about its main weapons real quick. I'm not going to go over las cannons, heavy bolters, heavy flamers. You all generally know what those do. I talk about them again and again and again. But let's talk about the Hellhammer cannon. So it does have an autocannon on there. Just to note, the coaxial autocannon. It is 2 shots, ballistic skill 4. I want to note ballistic skill 4 because if you look at the one on the Rogal Dorn, it's ballistic skill 3. So there is some discrepancy about these coaxial autocannons. The Rogal Dorn seems to have a legacy version of it, like the old Forge World units used to have, whereas then the Hellhammer does not. And I don't think neither does the Baneblade. It is strength 9, -1, flat 3 damage. So it's an autocannon. That's it. Doesn't have heavy. It doesn't have twin link. Nothing special. It's just an autocannon. Okay. But then the Hellhammer cannon here. This is a blast weapon. And it ignores cover. That's pretty good. That's like almost getting a free additional AP because your opponent is almost always going to try to get the advantage of cover. And this ignores that. Then it is... Oh boy, it is 30-inch range, so it's actually not far, right? 30-inch range is basically 3 of these, Baneblade kind of chassis vehicles in a row. So it's not too long, but with as big as this vehicle is, that means you could get a pretty huge range. If you drive this in the middle of the table, you'd pretty much be able to hit almost everywhere on the table. So it's enough range, right? It is 4d6 shots. 4d6. So minimum 4, maximum 24 shots without blast. Then if you're using blast, you could get up to like 28, 29 shots potentially, depending on what you're shooting at. So that's something good to keep in mind as well when firing this Hellhammer cannon, because it is, despite its size, maybe isn't what you would expect it to be. It is 4 ballistic skill, strength 7, -1 AP, flat 2 damage. Ooh. So for a super heavy, this is probably one of the weakest main guns in terms of strength, AP, and damage. It's not going to do a whole lot. But with the number of shots and having blast, where this is going to shine is actually shooting infantry and elites. That's where this is going to come into play. But let's talk about what makes this one special. What makes the Hellhammer special? And that is its unit ability called Close Quarters Warfare. This model does not suffer the penalty to its hit rolls for making ranged attacks while enemy units are within engagement range of it. If you get tagged by Chaos Space Marines, you don't suffer -1 to hit. You just keep shooting as is. Now that starts to impact how you play this unit, as it should. Also begins to impact loadout. I think then heavy bolters with their sustained hits 1 are still very viable on all your responses, especially with that flat 2 damage. You'll be able to shred Space Marines, even in close combat with them, and be able to shoot into them. Heavy flamers are also still a good choice to be able to clear out that chaff and get this thing moving again if you need it to move. So what I might actually recommend, though, is go the heavy bolter route. Then you would have 5 twin heavy bolters hitting on 4s. They're twin links, so they're re-rolling their wound rolls. They're usually wounding on 3s against elites and infantry, if not 4s. And then their sustained hits, you're going to get extra hits. And with that flat 2 damage, ooh, it just tastes good thinking about it, right? So this thing is going to be able to obliterate troops. That's what you want it to do. And here's what I would do. I would drive this up to the midboard, and I'd do one of 2 things. I'd either screen out an objective with it, get it up in front of the objective, put the objective just behind it, out of range, and have this just hold. Just drive it up and hold. Or I would drive it right in the middle. I would, honest to God, drive this right into the middle of the table. And I would look at my opponent and say, tag me, I dare you. Because the only thing I can't shoot you with while in melee is the Hellhammer cannon. But those heavy bolt and demolisher cannon. But the heavy bolters, the auto cannon, las cannons, heavy bolters or heavy flamers, and heavy stubber will shred you. You will not give me a minus to hit. And also, I'm OC8. I'm still helping hold the objective. And I'm going to start clearing all of your elites and infantry, all of your obsec stuff from the middle of the table. Don't even try. I'm going to obliterate those units. And that may be enough to get your opponent to go, maybe I should give that objective up. And maybe I should go somewhere else. Now, of course, one of the downsides we always have with the Baneblade variants and the larger Titanic units is their size. As you can see, this thing is massive, right? That's going to make it difficult to maneuver, but that also gives you an advantage. So if you can get it to the middle of the table, you can just block your opponent's vehicles and monsters, right? Just smash this thing up between 2 buildings like that, rotate to fire, and then obliterate your opponent. So you can screen movement with this if you can get it into position, and it's going to make it hard for your opponent to move around it as well. So that's something kind of cool to keep in mind about this unit. Is its downside is also a bit of a bonus as well. The fact that you can control the movement of your opponent's army with your Hellhammer or any other Beyblade variant. And this one doesn't mind getting into combat, so it doesn't mind driving up and getting tagged. It's not going to impact it that much. Even if your opponent tags it with another vehicle, like a Land Raider or a Rhino or something, okay, you just shoot out and you hit all the infantry with no penalty to your hit rolls. That makes this a fairly good anti-elite, anti-infantry, anti-objective secured kind of unit. And that's the way that I would run it and play it. I would not be shy with it. I would move it up unless your opponent has really good anti-vehicle units. So always something to keep in mind. In that case, put your little tech priest with it, have it run around behind it, trying to keep it, keep its wounds up, and just drive this thing right up the middle of the table. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's not really my favorite variant, though. I like the heavier hitting ones. I like the things that kill vehicles. You know, the Baneblade can do it. Obviously, the Shadow Sword is meant just for that. But I think if you do want to then dedicate the rest of your list building to other roles other than anti-troop, anti-elite, this thing can definitely fill that role for you. So maybe you can take more artillery. Maybe you can take more anti-vehicle elsewhere. One of the lists I might recommend to run this with is, say, something like 2 3-man squads of armored sentinels with las cannons or plasma cannons. They're going to, with their reroll, the wound roll against vehicles and monsters, shred vehicles and monsters, while this thing can just also contribute with its las cannons and demolisher cannon. But really, it's going to be taking out the troops and elites and the objective controlled stuff so that you can control those objectives. And don't forget, I mean, 3 armored sentinels on an objective is no joke either. That can also hold stuff down if you've cleared out enough of your opponent's units and they don't have a whole lot of OC2 stuff kind of jumping on top of it. So I think this definitely can play a role. Terrain matters, and so always check with the event or your opponent about terrain before writing your list to bring such a large model into it. But I think most of the time, even if you're using GW's kind of preferred layouts, this can still maneuver and this can still play. And maybe just talk to your opponent about it, right? This game should be about us having fun and bringing the models we want to bring and enjoying that. So hopefully your opponents are courteous enough to allow you to adjust the terrain just a little bit so that this thing can fit through and you can have some fun with it. That's it. That's all I got for today. That's this unit, and I really love it. I think it's a cool looking unit, and I think it's also practical. I think it actually has a role in your army, and it's something you can enjoy. The other cool thing is, too, if you buy multiple Baneblade variants, right? Say you do a Shadow Sword, Stormlord, and a Baneblade, you could actually take one of the spare turrets from one of those other Shadow Sword or Stormlord kits, which was what I did here, and build yourself the Hellhammer turret, and then also still have your Baneblade turret. And you can just paint it up for the same one and just swap it out. No magnets or anything needed. Just pop it in, pop it out on here, and I think that's a really great way to do it. Other kind of hobbying tip I would give is magnetize your antennas so they don't break off as easily. Just something to note. All right, that's all I have for you today. If you've been enjoying the unit reviews, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Appreciate each of you coming here week after week and watching my unit reviews, or if you've just discovered me. At the end of this will be a card where you can go to the whole list of over 24 unit reviews I've done so far, and many, many more to come. Currently doing the index versions, and I'll be updating these for the codex when it drops. So please keep that in mind. As always, have fun wargaming, and remember, Cadius stands.